Hello, everybody. Welcome to the first live community gathering of the July Game Changer Intensive. My name is Mario Trigueros. I am the program manager for the Game Changer Intensive, and I welcome you. There are people from all over the States. We've got a few people from Europe, even from Canada. So we've got a pretty.
Don't forget Japan.
Yep, we got some folks from Japan, at least one, and an uncanny number of Christinas and Christine. So welcome, everybody.
Hi, I'm Tracy Apple, and I, along with Mario, am very involved in this program. I work for the Pachamama Alliance, have been very involved in the creation of all of our programs, including and especially this one. And we love the Game Changer Intensive, and we love the chance to be with you. It's 2 times, quote, live. So thanks for being here, whatever morning, night, or afternoon it is for you.
So as Tracy said, this is one of 2 opportunities for us to get together live on our computers from across the world to get a sense of the scope of the people taking the Game Changer Intensive, to dive a little bit deeper into the material, and in general sort of cultivate a sense of community and really launch us forward, whether it's into the course or beyond. So most of you have met on their small groups. I'll give you a little orientation of what you're seeing on the screen. And for those of you who are on the phone, we see a few of you. We will do our best to narrate what we're going to be going through. And there are a lot of sort of collaborative experiences. It's an interactive evening. So if you can, get yourself to a computer as quickly as possible so that you can actually take advantage of them. Having said that, we'll do our best to narrate and navigate you through it.
And also just to say, this entire program is being recorded, the video and the things that are written. So if you do find yourself on a phone tonight or this afternoon, whenever it is, you can't get to a computer, everything we mentioned that you can't see, you'll be able to check on tomorrow.
So it seemed like a good idea.
It did seem like a good idea. At this point in the intensive, again, this is our 13th time of running the intensive, and we find that initially people sign on and it's like, oh, Game Changer, that's me. Once you start seeing that we're kind of serious with the material, that we actually do give you quite a bit to read and to watch, then you write on the discussion forums, and you've got your small groups, then there's all that resources for going deeper material, hopefully you've noticed. So we just want to acknowledge it's called intensive. That wasn't an accident. So we mean for it to be intense. And we want to ask you to bring as much strength as you can to the actual process of the course, which means on the weeks when you're busy, stay with it, okay? Do the minimum you need to make it work in your life. But please do stay with it. And we'll talk a little bit later. At some point, the course has a change in personality. You want to make sure you stay with it then as well. So this is seemed like a good idea at the time moment in the course, and it was a good idea. So stay with it.
So for everybody who's been part of, excuse me, the small groups, you know that we begin all of them by opening what we call sacred space. And regardless of your relationship to the word sacred, this is really an invitation to arrive. It's a chance to really be present, to maybe stop whatever you were doing and really allow yourself to be here now. So we are going to do that, and we have a wonderful guest, Maisa Arias, who's joining us. She actually works with the Pachamama Alliance across the globe, building communities all over the place, really from Latin America, Europe, Asia, spanning the globe. And for those of you who are outside the US, you may know her, and if you don't, you should. So I'm going to stand up and let Maisa introduce Sacred Space.
Hello, everybody. I'm going to ask you to close or lower your eyes, if you would. And let's take a deep breath together. Let's take another deep breath together. And as you do that, start feeling, really being present to your breathing and present to the energy of the universe, really coming through your feet and your legs and coming up to your body, and it extends to your hands, your arms, and it touches your heart. And it finally connects with your mind, which for now I'm going to ask you to try and have cleared of anything that may distract you today from being fully present with this amazing group of people. And keep breathing. And as you do that, also be reminded of everybody that came before us and asked for their guidance, and ask for the guidance of the universe, of that larger, greater entity that is guiding us all the time. And honor yourself for your deep longing and your commitment, your stand for a good world for all. Let your commitment be guided by the energy of the all, of the universe. And when you're ready, take another deep breath. And welcome back to this incredible group. Open your eyes when you're ready. And I'll leave you with Tracy and Mario. Good eyes here.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. So while Mario comes back, let me describe a little bit about the course. We've designed it in kind of 2 batches. The first, maybe 1 through 4 modules, are designed to have you focus more on your being, yourself as a mover, yourself as a game changer. Round about module 5, you'll notice the focus of the course is outward. So if the beginning of the course is focusing inward, the second part of the course is focusing outward into action. And again, those of us who are very comfortable with the deep, introspective, meditative, who am I in the matter, ways of looking at life, you may just love this first part a lot. And once we get to module 5, you may notice you're really busy and would have liked to continue with the course, but sorry. Alternatively, you might have been somebody here, well, look, I'm ready to go to work. What is spiritual leadership? What is this about? I want to go to work. Mm-hmm. So as warmly as we can, we want to invite you, whichever way you lean personally, stay the whole course for the whole thing, and we guarantee you will get opened up in an area where previously you maybe weren't so open. That's part of what this course has to offer, so we encourage you to do that. As far as what we're going to be doing tonight, we could put a little slide up to show you. Really, the main thing about tonight is for you to get a sense of one another. You know, you're getting a sense of the material already in the course, but who's doing it with you? So you get a little taste of that. So we did the welcome open sacred space. In a minute, Mara will make sure we all are clear on how to use this particular technology to its best, what it can offer us. We'll talk a little bit more what you can expect on the arc of this particular journey. Then we'll start really looking, who are we? And one of the ways we're going to be doing it is we're going to be giving you a chance to write things in those little chats and to answer some poll questions. So you'll get a sense, who else is a game changer with you this time around? We have time toward the end. We'll open it for questions and answers that you can write in the chat and call it a night or day or morning, whatever it is. That's it. That's what we see for today.
Cool. So I actually realize I haven't told you this yet. I'm fighting a cough, so if I break out into coughing fits, I apologize.
Just
and I apologize to you.
Face that way.
Yes, I'll face the other way.
All right.
So a little technical orientation. So I mentioned, for those of you who are on the phone, we're going to be doing some interactive things. I kind of want to say something before I even get into all of that, and that's that, you know, if we had it our way, we would be looking at all of you. We'd be able to reach out to you, to bring you on stage, to talk, to put you into small groups, to show you videos, to do polls, to do a whole bunch of stuff that's truly interactive on a scale that's actually big. And the truth is that the technology just isn't there yet. It's on its way, but it's just not within reach and within grasp. So we have this platform, and we can do some pretty awesome stuff. You've got chats, we've got polls, we've got ways to interact, and we're going to make the best of them. And we wish we could see you. We wish we could actually engage with you a little bit more.
Even hug.
Even a hug, I'd be up for one.
Yeah.
So on the right-hand side of your screen, you will notice several different icons, and this is where you can use the functionality of the course. The top one is like a little person. You might notice if it's not open for you, you already see the chat log. If it isn't open for you, it's a little person. It's at the top right of your screen, just below the arrow. This will expand to show you your chat log, and we're going to use this a ton. You'll see it throughout the course. We're going to ask you questions.
We'll probably talk slower because we have some people for whom English is not their first language.
Great. So this is going to be a key way that you will use and engage this evening. You'll also see polls show up on screen, and pretty self-explanatory. You're just going to click on the answer that resonates most with you. So why don't we do our first poll to get accustomed to this technology and warm ourselves up to it. So the first question, regarding the state of the world, it seems to me,
You.
and you should be seeing this coming up on your screen, there are 4 options. Things are getting better, things are getting worse, both, or neither.
Both
So-
meaning they're getting better and worse?
Yes.
Or, I don't know, what would the answer, what would neither be? Things aren't?
Something else. So regarding the state of the world, it seems to me that things are getting better, things are getting worse, both, or neither.
And I want to reiterate, please be active in this gathering. So if there's a poll, please enter your answer. If there's a chat, please respond. That's how these things have juice in them.
So the overwhelming majority of people, it looks like by my eye, 69%, almost 70% of people say both. Things are actually there's much to celebrate and much to worry about. We got a few that say neither. So very good. You're used to the chats. I mean, the polls, this is how they work. As Tracy said, we invite you to engage with it. As with the entire course, what you give, you will get. So if you engage with it, you'll actually probably have a much deeper experience. So we just released Module 3 of the course, Evolutionary Activism. So we want to give you a little broader view of what you're up for, what you can look forward to, and some of where we've come from. So let's bring up the next slide. And we're going to go through, excuse me, the 7 modules of the Game Changer Intensive. So we began with Introduction to Game Changing, really laying the framework and foundation for what's to come, qualities of spiritual leadership, qualities of a game changer, and the assertion that the game is rigged. We moved from there to a very powerful aspect of the intensive, the power of story, really unraveling ourselves and disconnecting ourselves from the sense that the way things are just the way it is. Empowering ourselves with a sense of creation in the story that we live in, and some hint of a story that's emerging. That takes us to Module 3, Evolutionary Activism. This is the week that you're in right now, and there is a potentially provocative notion or idea that humanity can, does, or should play a role in evolution itself. Really interesting, stimulating things to talk about. Looking forward to hear how those go. That takes us to Module 4, the case for grounded optimism. This is really to, those first 4 modules really strengthen and make the case for who we need to be. And grounded optimism is, as you can guess, to stand in a place that isn't Pollyanna, that doesn't have rose-colored glasses, but that actually stands for what is possible and that works actively to highlight the victories that we achieve. These first 4 weeks, as I said, really set the framework for how to engage in the external world. And that takes us to Module 5, the rigged game. We look at money and power, racism, and really talk about how the world that we see is actually a function of the systems and structures that keep it in place. It's beyond individuals, they're institutions. That takes us to game-changing movements, where we'll make the case for democracy and climate change as the two key movements to work toward, and present the two movement partners that we collaborate with that actually will facilitate and assist us to take game-changing action in the world. And we close with going forth, really launching us forward into a post-intensive endeavor. So that's what you're looking out for. Those are the 7 weeks broken down.
And I want to mention that something you did in the first module that Mario just talked about, which are the principles of spiritual leadership. You know, some people like to print those out and post them somewhere on their wall, in the refrigerator during the course, because in some ways, the more we get into how things really are out there in the rigged game, it's really helpful to be able to have something to come back and ground yourself with. So I highlight those principles of spiritual leadership. A lot of you in the discussion forums mentioned how valuable you find them, and we agree with you completely. And then in terms of story, the power of story, the module that we completed last week, a number of you said in your discussion forum post that you just love this whole concept. We agree with you on that one as well. The power of story in some ways could be considered what this whole Game Changer Intensive is about. So as we go through all the other modules, they're not called the power of story, but hopefully you're awake now to what story is, and you can listen for it and watch for it. So anyway, by now we think you've had a chance to meet in a small group. Most of you are meeting by phone. Are there any live groups still now?
There are a few. This is kind of the cutting edge of the Game Changer Intensive. Most of you are connecting to people virtually, and there are several who are connecting in person. Ashland is one of them. They've been actually doing it for quite a while. A really fantastic way of engaging with the intensive. People actually coming together locally to do it.
And just to say, you know, a lot of people like to take the intensive more than once, more than twice. I think Lynn Twist is one of the record holders of the number of times she takes it. And so if, when you're done with the intensive, you want to get a group together, family, friends, colleagues, whoever, and have your own group to go through it at another time, we'd be happy to support you in doing that. Anyway, wanted to know, have you met in your small group? And if so, what do you think? How's that working for you? So let's put up a poll. Again, it's not to be judgmental, but just to find out, oh, God, this has been my experience, but look at other people in my community are having a different one. So here's people on the phone, here's what we're asking. Please mark if you love your poll, your small group. It's the best part of the course so far. Or would your answer be either fine, I'm really glad I'm doing them, maybe what's true for you is kind of disappointing. My small group is kind of disappointing, which happens sometimes. If you've had major technical problems that have kind of influenced your experience of the course, could you mark that box? And then maybe what's true for you is small groups. I didn't even know there were any. And we actually have 2 people who find themselves in that category. Most people so far on the course, but you know what? Not everyone's answering. So give yourself another minute. Just whatever's true for you about your small group.
And I would invite any of those of you with tech problems, we can solve tons of them. So you can email us or give us a little shout out and we will follow up with you.
All right, so most people are really glad that they were in their small group. Just to tell you, people have told us at the end of the intensive that for many people, the small group is one of their favorite parts of the whole course. And many groups continue meeting, or small parts of them continue meeting for a long time afterwards. So even if you're a little wary about, wait, am I really supposed to open up with strangers? I can't even see them. This is going to work. Our experience after 12 intensives is that, yeah, it kind of does. So open your mind if you can and if you will. All right, we have a slideshow as a way to demonstrate to ourselves visually a little bit about who's taking the intensive with you this time. And for those of you on the phone, we'll do our best to read what's being shown. But can you take a look at a visual expression of the people? Well, there's a very visual expression. There are photos of game changers.
So if you haven't posted a picture on your profile, please do. It actually gives the sense of, it helps people connect to the people actually they're sharing the course with. So this is a picture of game changers, past and present, who engaged in the course. There are, I believe the number is well over 4,000 who enrolled in the intensive, and you're part of a growing body of people worldwide. So wanted to share some interesting demographic data about who is attending the course. So first off, on the right-hand side, the gender distribution. Now, we got about 72% of people who engage are female, about 28% are male. Interesting.
I'm not saying anything. I'm just noticing the statistics here, folks. No comment.
I will say, usually the male representation is at about 25%, so there's some...
Moving in a good direction,
yeah,
all right.
Absolutely. On the other side is where it gets really interesting. People talk about intergenerational movements, and we have one here. We have a very strong representation from just about all age demographics. So about 15% of people coming in at around 25 to 35, another 22% between 35 to 45, about 18% 45 to 55, big chunk of people, 25% between 55 and 64, and 15% at 65 and plus. So from our chair, what I would point out is we've got more younger people coming. That group of 35 to 44-year-olds is really growing. We're happy to have you here. And this is an opportunity to engage with people of different generations. What do we bring to the table that's different? Different perspectives, people who've been in movements before, or people just looking to join one for the first time.
Joseph says it's supported by grandmothers. That's good news.
Absolutely.
It is good news. And also good news is that the intensive appears to be becoming more and more attractive to people at the other end of the age spectrum as well. And as Mario says, that's a winning situation. Okay, geographically, in this intensive that you're in, there is at least one person from each of the countries on your screen. And for those of you on the phone, here are some of the countries: Australia, Austria, Belgium, Bulgaria, Canada, China, Colombia, Costa Rica, Denmark, and France. And those are only the A through Fs. You can imagine the rest of the list.
So looking at that worldwide to get a sense of what the population, how the population is represented. Obviously, a significant group of people from North America. That includes Mexico, about 67% of people from North America. Another 18% from Europe, 4% from Oceania, New Zealand, Australia, about 5% from Latin America, and 5% from Asia. 1% from Africa. So really wide distribution. People from across the world are really here. You've no doubt found that a good chunk of the intensive is grounded in the US. This is how we began. This is where our expertise is. And we really believe that a ton of what you'll get exposed to is absolutely relevant everywhere. And as we go deeper into the course and we dive into the rigged game, democracy, even those the systems and structures that keep in place the ills that we're trying to change are relevant outside the US.
And some people have commented, well, gosh, why is there such a US focus? Just to say it. We live in the US, and we are most able to put together a course that makes sense from our understanding. Now, the people in Ibero-America, the Pachamama people, said, look, at this course, we need it. We want it, we need it, and they have just completed getting the entire course translated into Spanish so that the Spanish-speaking world now has access to the intensive. I believe they're going to start also switching out some of the videos. Here's the thing, you guys. If you think we in this one little office can create all these materials for all the countries all around the world and all the languages, no, we can't. However, can you guys? Can you start organize yourselves to make this material available in other languages and countries? One of the people on the call tonight, Hide, did that exact thing with the Pachamama Alliance Symposium. Just took it across the entire country of Japan. One single person started it, and now it's thriving. So this is an open invitation to let you know you're really still in on the beginning of the Game Changer Intensive. And your ideas, while we in San Francisco may not be able to fulfill them all, we love them, and we'll support you in fulfilling them.
Go to the next slide. So within the US, this is what the distribution looks like. And you know, I just thought of something that would be really cool to show from the very first GCI that we did to this GCI, what it actually looks like if we can animate that. Because what you would see as you look at this, obviously strong representation from the West Coast, but from the last, I would say in all of 2016, we are getting more and more representation from Middle America. It used to be a really coastal course. The East Coast and the West Coast were most people engaged with it. Increasingly, the Midwest is getting a ton of people. The Southwest is getting a ton of people. So really, it's starting to branch out in places, both in age and geography, in places that are new to us.
Yay. So
when you enrolled in the Game Changer Intensive, you gave us a personal statement, and we read them and are inspired, and we wanted to share them with you. This is just a sampling of some of them for you to enjoy. So this is you. All these slides and those statements, this is what you're bringing into this course. A commitment for the future generation of people coming up, the children of the world, a commitment to showing up differently as a leader or otherwise. We're moved by it. We're showing this to you to give you a sense of who you're standing shoulder to shoulder with in this intensive and hopefully beyond.
Really moved. So when we read those applications for everyone who's applying, I mean, often we'll be in tears. It's because people are so hungry to find a way to make an impact in the world. So it's just very moving. And people say, I don't know about this course, but I'm going to trust it. So anyway, thank you for your trust. Thank you for being here. And we're going to ask you another question now. How would you describe the situation you find yourself in right now? And by that, we mean, would you say you're kind of isolated at this point in your life, looking for community? Are you someone who mostly relates to world issues online? That's increasingly true for more and more people. Do you have maybe a couple people you can work with? Or would you describe yourself as someone who is really part of an active community taking on issues? So again, if you're on this call at all and have access to the computer, please put yourself in this poll so we can see a little more broadly who is in this intensive.
So a really strong group of people, about 51% of people, are already part of a community taking on issues. That's fantastic. And a good chunk of people, about 36%, excuse me, who have some people that they can work with. So, you know, a lot of people, some people actually came to the intensive looking for community, and a lot of people are looking for some way to sort of step into their biggest self, to fulfill their sense of themselves as a leader. They're not necessarily expecting community, but so many people leave with it. It's something that you're going to get out of the intensive, especially if you can continue with your small groups, and it changes the scope of your orientation to the world, to yourself, and is a great way to just keep your energy going and your commitment to being a game changer.
Not everyone has a chance to read all of the discussion forum posts. There can be a lot. It's great when there are. And so on each of these live community gatherings, we pull out a few excerpts just to read to you, just so you can get a sense of how the course is landing for other people, just get a sense from others, and we'll try to read slowly, so those of you who are on the phone or those of you for whom English is not your first language, so you can hear. The rest of you, just sit back for a minute and just get a sense. In answer to the first discussion forum in Module 1, which is, well, what do you think? Is the game rigged or not? We had a couple of responses we'd like to read.
Sure. So here's a doozy. This is a big one. We need an evolved universal consciousness that comes from a place of understanding the reality of our interconnectedness and the illusion of our separateness, that there is no individual salvation. In the end, it is all of us or none of us. The most common theme in human mythology is the story of separation and return. Separation from the source and each other. It's all an illusion.
Okay, we can close the course. You got it. We're done. Totally. Someone else said, from experience, I know it takes courage to acknowledge that we are broken.
Somebody said, what a mess. I'm looking forward to learning about how to strike at the root. This charade has to be undone.
Then we asked you what you thought about the principles of spiritual leadership. Della said, I'm literally in tears as I read through the principles. It's so wonderful to see these thoughts all brought together in one single document.
And here's what I really appreciate. This is, in some way, how to engage with the course. Somebody said, you don't need to agree with all the material. Clarifying what you believe and what does not fit for you is a really valuable part of this course. Here. And bring your full self forward. We invite you to engage, to really soak in, to wrestle with the material, and most certainly not to accept it passively. See what happens when you really, really consider it. And some of it you'll take on, and some of it you won't. What we hope is that we'll stay allies together no matter what, that we can actually agree on the direction and where we're headed.
Yeah, and to just let you know, this course is very iterative. And by that I mean, it's the 13th time we've given it. This is a different intensive than we started with. And one of the reasons is because people give us feedback. We read the discussion forums. We see what's ringing true. For example, somebody said on the same discussion forum, the 9th principle, do not insulate ourselves from the pain of the world, reminds me of the work of Joanna Macy, which has been utterly transforming in my life. So here in the course, we add things, we subtract things, you tell each other about things. It's a very vibrant experience. Okay, Module 2, last week you were asked, what's opened up for you regarding story? And a bunch of people said, wow, there's a lot of great material this week.
So one is, I do think that just being aware that we have a story, quote unquote, allows us the opportunity to change it.
And Marcus gave us this quote from someone named Bruno Manser, whom I hadn't didn't know. It says, if you understood but didn't do anything about it, then you haven't understood. That's pretty powerful.
Taking this concept up to others who may or may not be receptive feels daunting to me. Agreed. This is actually a really common thing that comes up of how to take this out, how to engage with people.
Great.
So again, this is you. These are your reflections. This is really getting a sense of who you're in this course with and who's available to you in it and beyond.
All right, now we want to pose a question. You're going to actually write it in the chat. So there won't be a poll. You're going to actually go to that little box that has an F, a blue outlined F and T. And in there, would you please write whatever's true for you in this moment, in the answer to this particular question, which says, despite everything we're hearing in the news these days, and by that I mean the difficult news, what gives you hope? And I would invite the most honest answer you can come up with here. So again, and if you're on the phone, just answer it to yourself quietly. Despite everything we're hearing these days in the news, what gives you hope?
People I've met in the course, and the sheer numbers, communities. Oh, my grandson.
The possibility of things changing, kindness.
The fact that there is a possibility. The green world. That people are at the core of your, it's going so fast I can't even
See,
keep up.
I bet there's a group of people you could ask this question of, and there'd be silence. I just want to point this out, the kind of people who take this course. I mean, we're in the room here, we've got tears in our eyes, are people who would take a nanosecond to say, what gives you hope? Jeez. Oh, yes. Our evolving story, all of you and us. Thank you, Karen. Yeah. I'm inspired.
And, this is exercising the power of story. This is us really reading the news these days, disaster after disaster. How do we hold true to the direction that we're going? And what is the story that we're engaged with, that we're creating even?
And I love that this is not like a package. You can just take the package. It's like, I need to generate all this stuff every day. Mario does, Ariel does, Josh does. I mean, you do. So it isn't like, okay, I took the course, I got it now. No, it's like, oh, I just read the paper today, or oh man, really, is that really going on? Can't bring out that Principles of Spiritual Leadership sheet again.
So we wanted to step back a little bit. So we went through the modules, what the course is actually going to sort of convey to you. We wanted to step back and take a deeper look at the intensive and give some background to where we're coming from. And to do that, we've got to tell a little bit of the origin story of the organization. So, I don't know if you want to do it or if you want me to okay. So this is just a really, it's a beautiful story, and it is still relevant today. The Pachamama Alliance, the people who engage with us, and much of our work. And it began in the rainforest actually 20 years ago. This is our 20th anniversary, the Pachamama Alliance. And 20 years ago, this work began with the founders of the Pachamama Alliance, Bill and Lynn Twist and John Perkins, on a trip to the rainforest with the Achuar. And, there is so much to say about it, but the meeting that happened resulted in one of the most symbiotic, respectful, and effective partnerships between indigenous people in the modern world that I personally have ever encountered. There were years of productive, incredible work to protect both the Amazon and the cultures there, in particular partnering with the Achuar. And at some point, the Achuar, who have what we call what they call a dream culture, really believing and trusting their dreams, came with a vision or a directive, a mandate really, that the work we were doing down there was crucial and important, but that our task was actually to, what they said, change the dream of the modern world. Now, that's big. This isn't, educate people. This is beyond. We got to keep oil out of the Amazon, and we've got to change the dream of the modern world, change the framework that creates the sort of systems that actually go into the Amazon. So out of that emerged the Awakening the Dreamer Symposium. This is an amazing face-to-face workshop that people did that really woke them up to what is possible right now, what is happening, and where we might actually take this. It was deeply powerful and meaningful to thousands of people really across the world. And one of the common critiques that we got from it was, what next? So this is amazing. I'm woken up, I feel empowered, I get it, I want to do something, now what do we do? And the intensive was really sprung from that. What do you do after the intensive? What do you do when you are awake? We realized that it was more than just being awake. You actually needed to take collective action. You needed to take collective action to address the systems and structures that really that constrict our lives. This isn't just about individual choice. It isn't just about lifestyle choices. That actually we needed to address the institutions that were actually organizing our lives over and over and over again. So that's the sort of track of the intensive, or actually the history. And I probably should have begun that what emerged in the very beginning was this commitment. It's a threefold commitment to build a world that is socially just, environmentally sustainable, and spiritually fulfilling. Now, let that sink in. Socially just, environmentally sustainable, and spiritually fulfilling.
That's what we're about. And we kind of think that's what you're about. Can I make one comment? This is like playing the violin in public. Anyway, I don't know what it's called. But I was just in some meetings this week that I haven't even had a chance to talk to Mary about. And about our own story, Pachamama's own story. So the way we've always talked about it is the Pachamama Alliance began when Lynn Bill and John Perkins went to the rainforest, and it all happened. We're now starting to restate our own story. Pachamama Alliance began when a group of people in the rainforest, people who are connected to the earth, put out a call. And from that action, from that call, all of this is happening, and they're making a huge impact on the world. It's a subtle change, but it's a change. So I'm kind of even more in touch with this power of how we tell our story, and that one is a really good way to look at it here.
That's true.
Yeah. I want to say one little thing that you saw, Bill. You've done a little reading about Pachamama Alliance and Game Changer Intensive's very active, verbal suggestion that a key game-changing movement that could actually, we say, change the game is to actually have a functioning democracy. And people say, well, yeah, okay, but I'm really not that political, and I'm really involved, and then they list 15 wonderful movements they're involved in. And so I just want to be clear. We say, wonderful. Please, do your 15 movements, all of them. They're all making a difference. And we're still going to stand fast and say that from our looking, if we really had a democracy where people's voices were heard, that would create so much space for so many other movements that for us, that's a game changer. So it isn't that we're saying the other things aren't important, of course they are, but we're inviting all of you in this course and all future game changers to put some of your attention, your energy and attention on this question of a democracy movement. Now, when we started talking about this a couple of years ago, I was like, I didn't know what we were talking about. So this may be way out of your area of interest or expertise. Here's the invitation. Open yourself up in the course, if you will. See if there's some way you can and will relate to democracy that can have it start to open up, start to change. That, and then just to say the other big game changer that we're all aware of is that of having a habitable world on which to live. So the whole question of climate change, and that's something that we all want to be engaged with anyway. So I just wanted to give a little understanding for you guys to know what's this big thing on democracy. For us, having that democracy in place will open unbelievable doors.
The other thing that I'll say about it is, I mentioned the first 4 modules of the course are all about this question of who do we need to be, grounded optimism, the power of story. We're really talking about, and evolutionary activism for this week, we're really talking about a new kind of human, really. I mean, this is a human with a capacity and connected to nature at a scale that really hasn't been present before, that humanity is actually evolving. And in that process, we need a governance structure that's actually a match for us. That as we work collectively, we need a system that's actually as evolved as where we're headed, that actually empowers the consciousness and the collective will that we'll be working towards together?
We don't have a lot more time, but we do have some, but we wanted to pause for a minute. Does anybody have any questions that kind of got our attention now? Anything you've been dying to know, or that could we speak to briefly? We'll have time to take one or two, and there may not be any, and we've got more chats we want to do with you, but just we wanted to pause for a minute. If there's something you'd like to have us speak to briefly, would you just type it in the chat box, and we'll see if we can answer a couple of them.
Any questions at all? And we actually posed this question in an email to people, and we got a few responses from people in Europe who couldn't come, but wanted us to dive into the questions. I see you have these. Oh, I'm missing the first page. Do you have that first page? No. Oh, I'll get them.
What is challenging you now? Stephen, I don't know, who's the you? Who are you asking? What is challenging you now? Platform Alliance, Game Changer Intensive, People in America, Tracy, Mario? A little clarification.
Any questions at all? How have you measured the impact of the GCI? Well, I'm going to just flag a few of these. So how have we measured the impact of the GCI? This is an awesome question, and we actually wrestled with this. I don't want to get too technical with you, but from where we're sitting, there are sort of two main things, or I would actually say three. The first is the number of people we reach. And this is crucial, how many people actually apply to the course and enroll in the course and complete the course. What we kind of think of as outputs in some way. That's one level, and we deeply want to improve that. We are finding actually that a ton of people come to the course through word of mouth. So we really rely on you spreading the word to increase the number of people that actually engage with the intensive. That has the double benefit of increasing our numbers and making sure that you have community near you that is in alignment with what you're up to. Other things are impact and outcomes. And there's a ton we can say. Well, we actually do 6-month surveys. You'll hear from us in about 6 months, actually asking you, so how does this stuff live with you now? What are you up to? And we hear a ton of people engaged with the movement partners and doing all sorts of other incredible things. So, and it's also a place we're actually building out literally as we speak. It's a really, really important area. Fascinating question.
Okay, we've got a couple more. Richard wants to know if there's a way to keep the discussion forums open. I don't know the technical answer to that. I know people, I don't know. So maybe Ariel or Josh or somebody can respond to that one. Some people do want to keep communicating. Mostly, though, it's not through discussion forum, because our platform, we need to put it over to our next course usually, but we won't go into the techniques of that. Stephen, he wanted to know, the two of us, what's challenging?
What's challenging?
Okay, I'll say. What's challenging for me is to live the principles of spiritual leadership and the qualities of a game changer. That's my 100% commitment, to live that at every moment of my life. That is my absolute commitment. And it is when the external world gets in a certain way, that gets harder for me. So I need to re-examine my commitment to that. Am I that stand just until it gets too hard? How would you answer?
For me, I would say it's staying engaged at a scale and depth appropriate to my vision. So it's easy to get caught up in news headlines and what's happening today. The election in the U.S., there's a lot going on politically in the United States right now, and it's all important. But to stay sort of having a big vision of not just the next 6 months, but where are we going in 20 years and 50 years? What's my life committed to? And what is the movement that I want to involve myself with? Where is that right now? Having a sense of scale is a challenge for me. Not sort of going Chicken Little and the sky is falling, but having a sense of where we are on a scale of the movement that we're actually trying to bring forth.
Great. I'll answer a couple more. Dan wants to know how we're going to engage in the question of creating democracy. You know, we've just finished really 2 modules, so you've got 5 more modules, and I think that will be addressed a little bit later on in the course. You guys, this hashtag, Ariel, come on, whatever that person is asking, could you please respond about hashtags? I'm not showing my ignorance, I'm just turning this over to someone who can be helpful.
Is it, has the Achwar dreaming changed in response to the Pachamama Alliance launch? Excuse me.
I wouldn't presume to know the answer to that, but if you said I had to come up with an answer, I'd say, no, not the dream, not the dreaming. Their elders dream every single night. Their community meets every single morning to interpret those fresh dreams. But I may not be answering as deeply as you're asking. There was one more. Christina, one of the many Christinas on the call said, is there a response you give when people bring politics into the conversation? You know, I wish this were easy. I wish there were a little package, a little wonderful tip we could give you. It just doesn't work that way. When people bring politics, and by politics maybe you mean positionality, and maybe you mean some of the difficult things about politics, like make wrong and rage and manipulation. When they or anyone brings any of that in a conversation, who are you in that conversation? Who are you going to be? And I honestly, I don't mean to be a broken record. I'd send you back to those principles of spiritual leadership. I don't know what else to do in that situation. What about you, when people come at you with politics?
You know, I guess I'm not shaken by it. You know, this is an opportunity. What I will say, and something that I try to embody, is deep listening, actually. And, you know, I need allies all over the place. I need to build bridges all over the place. Now, there are some examples that I'm definitely aware are, you know, lost causes. We're not going to see eye to eye on anything. And I think it's incumbent upon us to build allies, to build relationships, even with people who are vehemently different than us. So I sort of notice that I get into a position of listening to really see past my triggers, my sort of immediate gut reactions, to where is the person, and if I can find the person, I can usually find ground to stand on to continue engaging.
I think we should move on.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Thanks for the rich questions. Sometimes people just leave those empty, and we're like, is anyone out there? But there's somebody out there tonight, and thank you. Want to remind you of something that we talked about in the very first module, I believe. It's called the stretch zone. I want to make sure nobody skipped that little part of the intensive. So we're positing that there's something called our stretch zone. So what you have, what all of us have, is we have, let's say, our comfort zone. Imagine a circle. So in the middle, you've got your comfort zone. And that's where you're basically able to function. And some of us have done a lot of work to have a pretty big comfort zone. So, you know, maybe before we had much smaller, but the work we've done on ourselves for decades and the courses, we have a pretty big comfort zone. So that's in the middle. Then there's something way out there, which is called, you could call it the panic zone, where no matter what, there's just no way I can do that. No way, I'm going to do it. It's just way, way, way too much for me. This intensive is not about having you dive into your panic zone, or any of us. That's not what the intensive is about. It is about, and I want to underline this, the intensive is about you venturing into your stretch zone. That's not your comfort zone. That's your stretch zone. You've got all these hundreds of people from all around the world. You've got us. You've got the material supporting you for these 7 weeks to move into and maybe live in your stretch zone. And what that looks for you is going to be different from what it looks like for anyone else on this call. So this is a personal thing, an invitation. What would it look like for you to be moving into your stretch zone? And I think we have a chat to that effect. Could you set up, Ariel? Something like that. What would I what do I need to do to put myself in my stretch zone during the intensive? And you can pause for a minute. This isn't trivial. This is actually kind of the heart of the matter. What would, for you to really be taking some territory and being somebody even deeper, broader than you already are, what would you need to do? So you would just think for a minute and then, in a stretch zone way, write it in the chat.
I think what I love about this question is that, you know, sometimes we think of being out of our comfort zone, that it happens to us. We're really saying that you actually need to do it consciously, willfully, to put yourself into your stretch zone, that place where you're uncomfortable and where growth actually happens. So be more involved politically, listening with those I really disagree with, speak up more for what I stand for.
Learn to love the discomfort of stretching. Amen that one. Seriously, could everyone please just write something? Because we'll all learn from each other's ideas anyway.
Tell more people about the course and send the link. Have the conversation from a module every day with someone not yet awake to Pachamama work. Catherine.
Keep the question of what would it look like to be in my stretch zone alive for me throughout the course.
I love this one. I volunteer to be the first guest moderator for my group next week. Yay! Awesome.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. And thanks for being willing to try living in a different zone.
So keeping with that question of being in your stretch zone, let's bring up another chat. Have you been able to use the principles of spiritual leadership as you hear about the latest tragedies in the news? There is a lot going on in the world today, and with social media and the easy accessibility of smartphones, it's in our face. There is no escaping it. So how have you been able to use the principles of spiritual leadership as you hear about the latest tragedies in the news?
Or have you not? Has that just been too much? So it's just a moment for honest reflection for all of us. Have we? Have I? Have you? What's been working about that or what not?
Not making enemies. I'm still attached to outcome, Ingrid. I feel similarly.
Prayer. You willing to go lean into the pain?
Deep listening helps.
Try not to demonize adversaries and loving my enemy. Well, we could all use a little practice on that one.
So, you know, the invitation here is to really engage with these as a daily practice. The spiritual leadership, the principles of spiritual leadership are often one of the more inspiring, moving pieces of content for people. Use them day to day. There is an opportunity to do so.
One of the things that, frankly, I think we could do more of in the intensive, people ask us, how do I take this into my life? You know, I love the materials, I love the readings, I love the videos, I love my small group, but how do we take all of this out in the world? And this next chat is really, we're polling you. It's almost a research question. What are you doing to take what you're learning from this course out in the world? Have you found anything that really works that you want to share with the community now? So, you know, you're 2 modules in, 2 and a little more. What have you learned about taking it out? Or what's been working? Or has it? Could you let us know in the chat? Question for those of you on the phone says, how are you taking what you've learned from the course out into the world?
Actually taking the online facilitator training, cool. There is an online facilitator training to help take that Awakening the Dreamer Symposium out into the world. Helping to produce and present. Wow, this is going so fast I can barely keep up.
Becoming a storyteller. I talk to strangers in the stores. Yay!
Trying to create a local community for Pachamama Alliance. Hello, Karen.
Share the course material with others not in the course. Go for it. No copyright here. Online training, yes.
Wonderful.
And again, to remind you, these chats will be available to you in the morning. You'll be able to reread them because we know none of us can read them this quickly.
Just want to say one thing that actually is from the news and tied to this. So many people talk about talking to people, sharing what you're learning in the course. And somebody brought up when people bring politics. After one of the shootings last week, I think it was after the Baton Rouge, or maybe it was the Dallas shooting, I don't remember which one.
In the U.S.
In the U.S., Newt Gingrich and Van Jones came out on a live Facebook stream. And for those of you who don't know, Newt Gingrich was a Speaker of the House, the second most or third most powerful political office in the country during the Clinton years, a very powerful and controversial figure. And Van Jones was called the green economy czar under the first Obama administration. Newt Gingrich is historically extremely conservative. Van Jones is on the opposite spectrum, and they came together to talk about racial justice in the U.S. And Newt Gingrich, whatever experience and history you may have with him, spoke about his transformation of coming to understand the Black experience in America. And so much of it, he said, was because the people talked to him. I couldn't imagine Van Jones and Newt Gingrich sitting shoulder to shoulder talking about race. I wouldn't have ever guessed that could happen. And it happened because they stayed in relationship. Do not underestimate the importance of staying in relationship, to holding your ground and seeing the humanity in people that disagree with you. So it's just a huge victory in that realm of taking it out into the world. Take it out to people. Make sure to listen and make sure to stay close.
And Josh and Ariel, if you could find the link to that and post it, that might be cool.
So let's do another chat, one more chat. What have you found works for you in communicating effectively with people who don't share your beliefs or commitments? This is coming up a lot anyway. What have you found works for you in communicating effectively with people who don't share your beliefs or commitments?
And you already shared what you try to do, what works for you.
Yeah. Empathy.
Smile. How about that? Smile. Compassion.
Dropping labels. Really, really important. Both the ones that box you in and the ones that box other people in.
I love this from Kathy. Take a deep breath and say, that's interesting. Right.
Not criticizing, being truly interested in the other's view. Here, Catherine. Pausing. Take a breath.
So point made again that you have in the course with you a lot of really wise people.
Wonderful.
Enjoy them.
So, again, it's such a privilege to be with such engaged, inspired, and interesting people. So thank you. We are deeply honored and deeply moved to be sitting here to be able to engage with you. And one of the things that how we designed the course is we really wanted to make it available to as many people as possible. And in particular, we wanted to appeal to people who were kind of on the fence of how to be in the world, how to engage with activism, and wanted to do something, but maybe didn't see themselves exactly as activists, wanted to find a way that making a change in the world actually spoke to their hearts, to their spirit. And they're not always ready to pay for something. They want to explore and sort of test the waters. So we have something called voluntary tuition. This allows you to enter the course, to feel it out, to kind of get your sense of the value that it gives you, and then find your own level of giving that is comfortable for you. Actually, maybe not comfortable, maybe a little stretchy for you. Maybe it actually pushes you into a realm of having to take a stand for something. And investing in something, engaging in the Game Changer Intensive, and investing in it is a stand. Make no mistake. The way you spend your money, most of you already know this, absolutely is a manifestation of your action in the world. So, throughout the course, we will make invitations for you to invest in the Game Changer Intensive. And you'll notice them on the course website. You may notice a link here. Really urge you to do so. And I'll just throw this out. You know, it costs around $100 per person to run this course. So use that as a barometer. If you can't, that number's too big for you. I get it. You know who you are. And if it's comfortable for you, note what your resources actually might allow you to do. So voluntary tuition is a key aspect of the course, and you can help support it by investing in the intensive.
Could I comment on that as well?
Please.
We looked at whether to do standard tuition, and I suppose if voluntary tuition didn't work, if people weren't paying anything, we would have to do that, because we do need to be sustainable here financially. There's something about it being voluntary and you really looking to see what's true for you and stepping up rather than having to do something that's kind of part of what the course is about. So it is still an experimental stage to be paying for the course this way. You can pay at any point. You could do now, tonight. You could do it during Module 4, anytime you want. And by the end of the course, we really do ask that every single person, and we want to keep track of the various intensives, what % of participation in tuition can we get? So not everyone could do $100. Some people could do 1,000 and pay for 10 people. But can we get everybody in the intensive to say, yeah, I'm putting in my, whatever works for me. So we invite you to, I think we're making it as easy as we can for you with these links. So please support not only the intensive, the work of the intensive, but support the concept of voluntary tuition. Great.
Wonderful. So as we approach the end of our call, your third round of meetings will occur this Sunday, Monday, or Tuesday, and you will be covering evolutionary activism. Again, a really interesting topic. So enjoy that. Tracy mentioned that feedback is really important to us, and I really can't overstate how true that is. There is a feedback button right on the course website. Please do use it. And it doesn't have to be brilliant. You may want to send us one line, whether you like something or not. We would love to hear from you, and it makes a big difference to the course and future participants. So please do click on that link on the course website and send us some feedback. Tell us your thoughts.
And also, you hopefully discovered the button that says great stuff. It's on the upper right-hand side, right, of the regular course. That's where we heartily invite you to post anything you think that's related at all or that you find interesting that you think anyone else in the community might find interesting. And we check that forum also to see if there are things you're posting there that we should be dropping into future courses. So everything you're in touch with, all your networks, all your insights, all the videos that really do it for you, the blogs, let us all have it. And again, the Great Stuff forum is a great place to put them here.
Great. I love Richard put some perspective. According to Economics 101, the retail cost should be around $200. It's actually really true. You can pay hundreds of dollars for a course like this, and we're really trying to make it available to as many people as possible. So, listen, lots of love to you. Stay in touch with us. Email us at intensive@pachamama.org. Any questions that you've got, give us feedback, ask us for help. We are here to make this experience as deep and meaningful for you as possible.
Enjoy one another in the discussion forums. Even if you're not a big writer, it's kind of wonderful if you can just post a little thank you or that was interesting. It'd be encouraging with one another in your small groups. If you can't make it to one of your calls, let other people know in advance, because it's a little disheartening when someone isn't there and you kind of worry about them. So love us, love each other, take care of each other, stretch.
We'll keep the chats open for a few minutes if you want to continue chatting with each other, sharing emails or whatnot, and we'll post all of this tomorrow, as Tracy said. And we'll see you again August 24th at the next and final live community gathering. In the meantime, bye-bye, folks.
Thanks.
And